just did my initial hot air balloon jump, and it was absolutely incredible. It's definitely a moment where you feel like it's just you and God, and you got to trust in Him, and it was worth the wait.
Happy Wednesday, everybody, and Merry Christmas. Thank you for joining, and I hope you were all able to see our intro tonight. Krista, welcome.
Hi, Dave. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Look who we've got. We've got Wendy. Christmas Wendy.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I stole Patrick's background.
Nice. And we got Deweese.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. And let's see, else do we have? Oh, we have our special guest tonight, and we'll see if she can join back in. Hello, Angie. Sitting by the fire.
Right, isn't it? Oh, wrong side. Isn't it lovely?
Very nice.
That one.
Nice. Did you like your intro?
Yes, I did. I was like, did I send her the wrong video with the Santas? Like, I was like, I'm not on that jump.
No, I added some Santas on there.
No, it was great. It was perfect. I was like, right on. And I've been fortunate. Go ahead.
What?
Oh, I've been fortunate enough to jump with one of the Golden Knights. He jumps at a drop zone kind of in my area. And so I got to do a couple of jumps with him. That was really incredible.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Please hit the thumbs up if you could, please, to show your support for us, and subscribe also. And I want to thank everybody for joining in tonight. And tonight we've got Angie Drumm. And Angie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining. I am so humbled and honored to be a guest here. These ladies are badass, and I am so excited to share our stories of the sky with them, or my stories of the sky with you guys. I'm from Stillwater, Oklahoma. I started skydiving in 2017. It was gonna be for my 42nd birthday, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that here in a bit if you guys would like. I have my B license currently, and I have lots of goals ahead of me for in the future. I've had kind of some intermittent downtimes and learned so much about myself and drawn so much from what I've gained in the sport to be able to support me in those times.
Nice. So any gals in the panel, do you got any questions for Angie?
I just got to say, I think she's badass.
Oh,
Exactly.
I would agree.
My favorite was the video of her crawling up a biplane
No
wing
kidding.
and flipping upside down and letting go. I was showing some of my students yesterday this, and they're like, I said, now the plane's going to flip up. They're like, what if she falls? And all of a sudden you fell off. That was pretty
that's
cool.
the whole point, right?
Right.
And then when she's hanging on the back of the other skydiver, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
A wingsuit rodeo is something pretty special. Donaldo, he's a skydiver that hails from the drop zone in Dallas, and he's given lots of wingsuit rodeos. He's just a really, really awesome guy, very down to earth. And it's something that we had talked about actually for 2 years before we got to do that. We never were able to coordinate that. And then I got to do that for my birthday jump while I was down there. And so, and it was just like the perfect timing. And I was the first person that he had where he was able to catch the cloud scraping where we were going down by the cloud on the video. And so, and we both cried after, when we watched the video together. We were so excited. And we have plans for additional ones in the future. So I can't wait to be able to get back down there and share some of those upcoming jumps with him.
Well, it was really cool.
Yeah. I have a question.
And it was super fast. Sure.
So you said at 42, is that when you did your first jump and you just went right for it, and now you're just jumping left and right? Or did you ever do it before and years went by?
No, I had never jumped it. It's something that had kind of been in the back of my mind, you know, from when you were a kid and you're like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. My great aunt had wanted to do it for her 95th birthday and she passed before that. And then 6 months after that, I lost my husband. So I wasn't able to like honor her even like directly after that in that way. And in 2017, I went through a lot of personal changes and just kind of let go of everything. My hashtag was live out loud. And that's exactly what I started doing. And I saw the video by Will Smith that is called On the Other Side of Fear. You guys can look it up on here. And he literally talks about his skydiving experience. And literally that was the trigger for me. I called because I had done a little bit of research. I called and I booked my jump course to start on my 42nd birthday. And within that, it was really, I don't know. I just kind of had this like, you know what, I'm not going to do a tandem like everybody else. Cause at that point to do accelerator free fall, they didn't have a 2 tandem progression like they do now. And so you do your ground school first, which is about a 6 to 8 hour course. And then you can start in on your jumps. And so I went to do that and got just adopted into a new family, which was fantastic. The skydive community, it's definitely my tribe. It's the only community or with anything that I've been involved in where the first 2 questions that they ask me at a drop zone are, do you have a place to stay? Do you need something to eat? I've got family that doesn't do that, or friends or, or any, churches or any other communities that have ever been like that. And so it was really incredible to be welcomed in by that. But I had just decided, I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, damn it, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to learn to do it myself. And I had a couple of friends that had said, oh yeah, we'll kind of do that with you or whatever. Yeah, that's bull crap. They were like, they never showed and they never jumped. And most of the people there will tell you, yeah, your friends will tell you, oh yeah, we're going to come, but nobody ever shows up a lot of times. And so, my most recent return to the sky, I did a tandem actually last month to kind of see where I'm at in my progress of healing and such. I've been down and out with some things and physically. And for the first time in all this time, my mom was there for my landing. And so that made it really special.
Awesome.
Because before she was always like, I'll see you when you get back, And so it really meant a lot to have her there. But yeah, I just decided to go and do that. It takes about 8 to 12 jumps to get through your accelerator free fall course. But you have to check off a whole bunch of other boxes there's different licensing in skydiving to be able to give you access to different types of jumps and different places that you can jump and such, because when you're simply a student before you achieve your A license, you can only jump at that, as we call them, drop zone, to be able to do that. And so I went ahead and I got my A license. You have to check off all the boxes and do all the things. And that opens it up to where you can jump at any drop zone in the United States.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And that was I started in 2017 in August, and I got my A license in the spring of 2018. Because I did start kind of late in the season, and here in Oklahoma, we have, variable weather and this lovely thing, the Oklahoma wind, as the winds come sweeping down the plains, boy, that's no joke, and that kind of inhibits some things. And so sometimes you're at the mercy of that. And in the process of that, though, you learn a lot of patience, and that's one of the things that it definitely taught me is, just because you have an expectation for something, it doesn't mean it's going to work out the way you hope. And they always say, if you'd call the drop zone and ask, hey, how's it going there? What do the winds look like? They're like, well, if you're not here, you can't jump. True story. And so you always got to go just to see.
So Tony's got a question.
Sure.
He wants to know if you've ever played in a wind tunnel.
I have actually, using iFly is a great tool for skydivers. And the reason why is because, and there's some that'll be like, oh, those tunnel rats, you know, and you know, and then there's people that are in the tunnel only, and they're like, oh my gosh, those crazy skydivers, you know, it's like kind of one of those things. And then there's people like me that actually utilize the tunnel for training because it helps you. It's essentially like what perfect free fall is like, without having to worry about your gear, without having to worry about, you know, the plane and all the things. You can literally just focus on how your body moves in the wind. And it teaches you how to be, you know, how to gain perceptions of where you are compared to other people and things like that. And it is a little bit different in the tunnel than the sky, but a lot of it is transferable.
So I was watching a video where they have that you must learn how to control yourself in the tunnel quite a bit, right? And
Yeah,
and what are the
challenging.
maneuvers? Can you explain some of those maneuvers?
So the difference in the tunnel and the sky, I mean, so free fall in skydiving lasts about a minute. So when you go to the tunnel and, you know, you say, I did 10 minutes today, that's like 10 skydives. You're literally physically, you know, engaging your core the entire time. You have to, and the tunnel is a lot more challenging, or it was for me when I started, because I was like, holy crap, this is a lot different. You know, it's not like, it doesn't feel the same. You know, it seems like at first it's the sky. But you have to learn how to, you know, arch your body, but not overarch. And, you know, you do side sliding back and forth, you know, and learn, and you can literally just like turn your hands just a little bit and it literally moves your body. And you can do the same thing in the sky. It's really awesome. But you start out on belly, just like in skydiving, in a regular skydive. And then you can transition. They have you start learning how to be on your back. Back flying is the next step. And then once you progress past back flying, you have sit flying and then head down. And it's the same progression for skydiving as well, except the speeds are a lot different. But yeah, in sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So in skydiving, you know, with belly, you hit terminal at 120 miles an hour. The plane's going about 100 miles an hour. And so you don't have much faster to go before you hit terminal, which is great. Because that's where you want to be at, because that's what allows your parachute to work effectively and open properly, in case you have to open then, or in case you choose to open then. And, you know, that can be from 120 to 140 on your belly. And then once you go into a sit, that's like essentially like 140 to 180, depending on different things. And then you can go to stand flying, which is like 160 to 180 or one, you know, a little bit up from there. And then head down is 200 plus miles an hour. Now wingsuiters, like on that wingsuit rodeo that you guys saw a little bit in the intro, he was in what's called a delta position, which is like where they put their arms kind of back like that. And it literally, I have no idea how fast we were going, because my altimeter was like, we don't know what this is, you know, that I was wearing. But it's definitely the fastest I've ever been.
So one of the pictures I saw today, it was, that must be the wing rodeo, where the guy was face up sky and there was a gal on top of him. Shut up, everybody, guys.
Not quite like that. I mean, you don't have that much time while you're on a jump.
Right.
Well, some guys might, but you know.
How does that, with that wind going, I mean, how is that not pulling his head completely forward?
Okay, so when you're back flying, that's part of it. You know, you have to essentially kind of like relax yourself into it. And it doesn't, your head's not like super like floppy loose, but once you know, if you just, it's kind of like, you know, when you lay down in the water, you know, and just because you're laying down in the water, your head doesn't automatically like sink back into the water. And I've heard a lot of people say that do actual diving, like scuba diving, that have transitioned to skydiving. They say a lot of the free fall is very similar to what they've experienced in that like homeostasis state in the water as well.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I saw another question in here. Tony also asking, because I
Yeah.
believe he's a fellow skydiver, what
Cool.
rig do you jump with?
I have a wings container with a Sabre 2 150. I'm really hoping to transfer to or sell that in the future and get a Sapphire 3. It's kind of like a Cadillac. I'm not like looking to drive a sports car. Not my Sabre 2 is not a sports car. It's kind of in between. But I'd like more Cadillac openings. My Sabre 2 likes to have a lot of off-heading openings. And that's kind of frustrating. And so it's the right size for me. When I initially started in accelerated free fall, the size of canopy I had on at the drop zone I jump at, I was jumping on 210. When I first started skydiving, I weighed 97 pounds. And I've gained a little bit since then, yay. But a lot of times, it's, at least for guys, it's a little bit easier for them to change in canopy size, where it adjusts with their landings a little bit differently. And for women, it's a little bit more challenging because the lower in square footage you get, which is the size of the canopy, the more elliptical and the faster essentially they go, or the more agile they are and things. So yeah.
All right, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
I'm trying to stay on mute to be quiet in the background here. You girls got a question at all?
Matt Sloper does. How many jumps do you have in?
So I'm still a baby bird. And that's another reason why I was super honored to come on, is because I only have 137 jumps. To someone who's never skydived before, it sounds like a lot, but when you're jumping with people that have thousands upon thousands of jumps, and it's very humbling, and one of the things I had to learn as well in this season of all this is everybody progresses at different rates. We all have different challenges that, not everybody's single or has just copious amounts of funds to be able to just go and do this whenever. The great thing is, once you get your A license and you start using your own equipment, each jump is only like $25 to $28. So that's not anything like what a tandem would cost or things like that. It's really fairly inexpensive. And you start measuring things in jumps. It's like, I'm not going to go out to eat at that restaurant because that's 3 jumps right there, and so you start really putting things in perspective that way.
Okay.
I had a question and I forgot. Dang.
Totally fine. It's been a brain fog kind of day all the way around, man.
Yes, it
I think it
has.
has to do with like the winter solstice and some kind of full moon stuff going on. Like, do I need to light up my sage? Like, what's going on? So
That's a good look.
I have a question.
Well, Randy wants to know, have you considered doing wingsuit?
When I initially started, I really wanted to, but then the more I learned about it and the complexities of it and things like that, and some of the jumps that I've done now, because there's so many different disciplines once you get into it. When you go and you do a tandem, that's one thing, and it's great for somebody who's going to go do that once and go home. For somebody who is going to progress in the sport, you find out about, accuracy competitions and speeds skydiving and formation flying and, wingsuiting and base jumping. And, you've got all these different things that you can do or try. Wingsuiting, there's a lot of things that go into that, and it's a lot more complex than the general public, I think, realizes. For me, I love formation skydiving so far. Like, that's the grit that really I love. I was told to go by a mentor to them with the Sisters in Skydiving experience. They have different events throughout the year, you know, at different drop zones and things. And so when my jump numbers were in the 40s, they were having a Sisters in Skydiving event down in Dallas. And so I went down. That was the first time I had gone to any other drop zone. I wanted to do that before I hit 100 jumps, because sometimes people just get kind of comfortable where they are and they don't try anything outside of that. And that wasn't at all what I wanted. They also have amazing mentoring down there and things like that. You can get free coaching essentially until you hit 100 jumps. And so that is all excellent. But I went down there, and one of our load organizers, which is somebody who helps coordinate the formation skydives or who's going on what jumps and things, wanted to help us get a Starcrest award, or a women's Starcrest, a WSCR. And to have that, you have to have a certain number of women leave the plane not connected and be able to reach each other and maintain that formation for at least 5 seconds on the jump. And we were able to do that with all but one of the skydivers had less than 500 jumps. And apparently that's not very common. And 3 of us had less than 200 jumps, which is even less common for people to be able to achieve that. But for me, and our load organizer on that was Dr. Mary Ellen Weber. She is also a former astronaut. She has been to space twice. She's an incredible, incredible woman. But she was the most kind, compassionate, grit-filled woman I think I've ever met. And she was like, I am not, the next day, you know, we were trying to get this jump. We were having challenges with the winds. I had to try on a weight belt for the first time because I'm super floaty in the sky. And so trying to keep up, you know, with other people that are a lot more experienced in moving their bodies is a lot more challenging. And so, you know, we tried different weights, and I was blowing up the formation because, you know, it was I still had jump numbers in the 40s, you know, I hadn't had more experience in some of this. And, we got it on the 3rd try. It was excellent. I was wearing 12 pounds of weight then, and I found that that's the proper weight in my weight belt usually when I'm jumping with anyone on larger formations. And that there's something about the way you do the groundwork, or it's also called a dirt dive. Then you do the jump and then you come back and debrief. And there's just something about those steps, and you know, every single jump you go on is completely different. You can literally do the same jump 10 times, and every single time, you know, the winds might change, or one person just something happens, you know, or whatever. And it's always challenging and always changing. And so I don't know, that I think that so far is like my favorite discipline.
Okay.
I have a question.
So you have some goals. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Wendy.
Oh, I was just going to say, so since you now have your own equipment, what does it cost to be getting your wing and having your harness and having all of your proper equipment compared to paramotoring? It would be nice to hear the differences.
Right. So, you know, it's really important to be able to have someone that is really familiarized with that when you're getting into this, because you want somebody that knows kind of like where the harness is supposed to sit on you properly and things like that. And for women, it's a little bit more challenging because, you know, of course the equipment's unisex, you know, and things don't always fit the same. But I was really fortunate that my drop zone owner has been in the sport 20 years. And he's also what's called a rigger, where he is able to repack our reserves, as well as, you know, do stitching and things like that to help our canopies. But to get your A license, to go from 0 to 25, and I mean, that alone can cost you as much as $5,000. It just kind of varies. And then once you, like, for most of the time when you're getting your initial equipment, you want to get used equipment first. You don't want to just get full on custom, because like I talked about, you're going to have all these different disciplines that are going to open up to you. And, you know, if you get, and there's different types of equipment for different types of disciplines. And so you don't want to go and spend $8,000 on a completely brand new container and canopies and like all of that, when you find out in 200 jumps, you know what, I'd much rather try wingsuiting, or I'd much rather try base jumping, you know, or things, and have to just kind of do that. So a little less investment. I paid $3,600 for my used equipment, and my rigger inspected it before we said yes. And he was like, honestly, this container can last you your entire life in skydiving if you wanted it to. He said, and the wing with this is in great condition, or parachute, you know, and the reserve looks great. And so that's about how much that starts. So, but for me, I also spent quite a bit of time in the tunnel, my first, especially year. And so I probably spent 15 grand the first year that I was in skydiving. But it's an investment in yourself. You know, when you look at it compared to what type of experiences you get, say, for a year of, you know, 2 semesters of college, how much does that run you? You know, and just looking at it that way, or investing in a business, or, you know, at the beginning, and things like that. And so when you look into investing in yourself, it's extremely critically important to value that also.
Mad Sloper's got a question in here. Have you ever considered paragliding or powered paragliding?
So I think it would be absolutely incredible. I have started following this last year a lot of paragliders on Instagram, especially, you know, and just seeing the way they're able, especially the ones that go along the coastline. Oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful, and just I can't imagine what that's like. And I would definitely like to try a tandem of that. Paramotoring looks a little bit more scary to me. I don't know. I think I'd be open to try it once, but I don't know if that, but there again, it's kind of like skydiving. You don't know until you try. And so I can't speak to what my thoughts might be on that in the future. But as for now, I would be open to trying to go. Do you guys do tandems for that? Like, that's how little I know about it.
Yep, we do.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can either do it by foot or you can do a trike tandem. So you just
I'm
have
going to
to
warn you though, because then you're going to get addicted and you're going to have 2 expensive sports to have to keep up with.
Well, you know, you do one thing in one season and one thing in the other, you mix and match,
Yeah.
you know, but that would be absolutely okay. My kids would hate it. I would say. It's so funny. My son, you know, he's 10 and he's autistic. He's super low support needs. So like, if I didn't tell you that, you wouldn't know. But like he spent loads of time in our drop zone, because it is a family affair, you know, when you go and there's other kids playing and hanging out and stuff there. And so he was able to do that. And so after about like the 3rd time there, I was like, you want to come out and watch me land? He's like, no, I've seen you. Like, he's good.
So no interest in flying himself.
Oh no, he said he would probably do a tandem when he turns 18. My daughter, on the other hand, just turned 21. She had said that she would be maybe open to doing a tandem, but then she was like, I'll go when you can take me. And I'm like, well, I'm not looking to become a tandem instructor, but
Nice. Deweese, did you remember your question at all?
Yeah, I think it was the one about the kids.
Oh,
Whether
okay.
there was any interest from the kids in
I mean, they're
skydiving.
very, very supportive in what I do, and they understand that it's something I'm very passionate about, and I've talked to them about what it brings for me. You know, because every skydiver's reasoning or what it means to them is a little bit different. For me, it's like the most quiet, peaceful, like letting go of stuff, connecting, empowering things I've ever done. And it's like that every single jump for me.
Yeah.
So do you guys have fly-ins or events?
At my particular drop zone, they did have a boogie or a skydiving event this last spring. That is the first one that they have had since I started jumping there in 2017. Where I started at is a very small drop zone. You know, it's mostly tandems and things like that. The drop zone owner does do paramotor, and like one other skydiver does that, but we don't have really a capacity for that.
Krista, you got any questions?
Yes. So what are your plans for the future? So you'd mentioned a D-wing before or D-license. So elaborate on
Okay,
that.
so yeah, there's different licensing that allows you to do different types of jumps. Your A license unlocks any drop zone in the US, essentially. Your B license unlocks, you have to do different things, like you have to have a canopy course and a water course, or water training as they call it, to get your B license and be able to land, 10 times within a however many meters of a target. Pardon me. And you also have to have a certain amount of skydives and free fall time and things like that. And then to get and that unlocks, like you saw me doing the wingsuit rodeo, which that's more kind of a personal level thing. But like if you're at 100 jumps, but you're very skilled in the sky and things like that, that kind of might adjust some of that. Most drop zones won't let you do like the biplane jump, or a hot air balloon jump or a helicopter jump unless you have your B license. A C license is what unlocks, that's 200 jumps, and that unlocks your capacity to wear a camera. That's when you can start doing some of that, because every element that you add does add additional elements for potential malfunctions. And so, to have more experience to be able to handle that is absolutely understandable. But a C license opens up your wingsuiting, your base jumping, potentials and things like that. They do have courses that you have to go through. I know that for base jumping, at least there's a bridge that everybody wants to jump. And that is the only, if I end up doing it, that is the only place I want to go to do that, so I can jump off a bridge. And that way, if anybody asked me if all my friends would, I would say, well, yeah, I've done it and I'm still here. That's kind of but it looks incredible. And but you have to do like a whole course, and it's like encapsulated with like 15 total jumps or something of the sort. And it's the same for a canopy course. It's about 15 jumps as well, to be able to learn how to manipulate your canopy and become a pilot of it, in a little bit better capacity. A D license opens up when you can do demo jumps, where you can do just all that's like the quan, essentially of it all, and then you can, and once you hit, it's between 500 and 1,000 jumps if you decided you wanted to become a tandem instructor, or, different instructors like that, there's different levels that way as well.
Kelby Cox is asking, has she ever heard of Stony LaRue?
Yeah, I actually, funny story with Stony. So he is from the Stillwater area, which is where I'm from. We were in school at the same time. And not only that, but his brother is Bo Phillips. And I don't know if you've heard of him. Bo and I are friends. He's also in Stony is a country music artist. And so is his brother, Bo. And I actually was fortunate enough to know Bo back in the days when he worked at this bar called Tumbleweeds. And I introduced him when he was a bouncer to one of my girlfriends, and they ended up getting married. And so we've been friends intermittently throughout this time. And Bo actually wrote a song about my late husband when his wife Terry had come home and told him about the service. And you can watch that also on YouTube. It's called 21 Guns by B.O. Phillips. I was fortunate enough to get to participate in that, of the filming of that. So was his sister and his mother. And I had a role in it. And that was the first time I'd ever really done any type of acting. I definitely have an extreme new appreciation for people that do that all the time. It is a lot of work. But yeah, it was really amazing. And he kind of, the people who did the short film and the video didn't exactly tell mine and my late husband's story, but they kind of took it from our story. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, Stony and Bo are both really great guys. And I've known them a long time. There's some other country music artists. Garth Brooks got his start here in Stillwater, even though we're kind of a smaller place on the map. It's where Oklahoma State University is, where I also have my degree in university studies, which is just a gen ed degree, and have some roots in history there. My great aunt that I was talking about, she actually taught chemistry at Oklahoma State for 27 years. And so, and my mom has her degree from OSU, and my aunt. And so there's definitely a lot of rooted history there. And it's funny because we have this symbol called, that's like this, let's go Pokes. When I was pregnant with my son, who's now 10, but when I was pregnant with him, he was doing that in one of the ultrasounds. And I'm like, that's before born and bred, baby. And this year we actually beat the Oklahoma Sooners in football, which was really great because this may be the last year that we ever have to play them. So that's a bedlam rivalry that happens every year. Football is a big deal here in Oklahoma. I don't know if it is where you guys are, but like that, yeah, it's a big deal. But it's really cool being from an area where red dirt music kind of has roots, almost like in Austin. And we've had a lot of bands start here, Cross Canadian Ragweed, which they're all really great guys, The Great Divide, and some bands like that. Huh?
Oh, Deweese is laughing. She's
Oh, I'm
talking,
sorry.
I think, to her husband.
Oh. It's okay. But yeah, it's really cool, and I was born and raised here. I didn't ever move away or things like that, which is kind of cool. It's a college town. Without the students, we'd only probably be like 40,000 people in town, and with the students, we're about 75,000. And so it's the fourth best bang for your buck for as far as colleges go, or at least before pandemic and all the things. And we were also voted the fourth friendliest city in the US. So.
All right. Krista, you got anything? Wendy? Deweese?
Tony just put one in. Have you ever been to Couch Freaks? If it's still going on.
What is that?
I have no idea.
Couch Freaks?
Oh, Couch Freaks. No, I haven't. I don't know if it still is or not. I read a little bit on that because there's we have a United States Fun Jumpers page, and I think there's been discussions on that, as well as like the bond something. It's like Skydiver bonfire or something that I'm also in. There's all these different Facebook groups, of course, that you can join, and Facebook Fun Jumpers pages from every drop zone that you go to, where the local jumpers can talk about who's all going to be going out there, when they're going to have start times and stuff like that. But I've heard of Couch Freaks, and I've never been, just like I've never been to Burning Man, which would be really cool. But maybe one of these days. There's a lot of skydiving boogies that I would like to go to in the future, like Summerfest. It's in Chicago, obviously in the summertime, and it's massive. But yeah, those are places that I would like to go and participate in some of those things eventually. Have you been to Couch Freaks?
I knew nothing about it. Have you been, Tony?
He says it's
He'll
a
jump in.
boogie. So I'm assuming he might have.
Is a boogie like a fly-in for
Yes,
skydiving?
yes.
Is what
So
I'm gathering?
it's like a weekend event where they bring in, different coaches and different people to do, to work with different disciplines, and like those load organizers, like I was talking about, and things like that. That's what a boogie is. And sometimes they last a week at most, but usually it's a weekend thing.
I think they'd be called drop-ins, like instead of fly-ins, it'd be drop-ins.
Right? Yeah,
I
I mean, that
remember
would
where
make
the movie
sense,
came
right?
from.
I don't know who came up with the name. Maybe we should rewrite it. And one of the things that's a little bit different, and I don't know how it is for you all, but out of 40,000 licensed skydivers in the United States, only 3,000 are women. I'm fortunate enough to be that. It is increasing all the time. There's new ladies coming into the sport, which is fantastic. It's about like one gal to 17 guys. And there's been, I don't know how many times when I've been at fairly local drop zones where I'm the only chick. But I've bartended for years and did a lot of that stuff. And so I have the mind of a 12-year-old boy. So a lot of times I just fit right in.
So Sean Afsker wants to know what's the coldest temp that you've jumped?
Actually, this most recent tandem I went on, it was freaking freezing. Holy crap. I look like I'm in pain on half the video because, oh my God, I'm so spoiled with my enclosed helmet. And I really like that. I know it sounds funny. I don't like the wind up my nose, but I like it on my body. But I would say like here in December in Oklahoma, I think it was minus 16 up top. Fahrenheit.
Okay, wow.
And that I'm pretty sure that jump I came down and my hands were red for like 30 minutes and I had gloves on and I had latex gloves underneath those.
Wow. And then he also asked, do you prefer flatland to jump over or mountainous areas?
I haven't had the pleasure of jumping in a mountainous area, but I have had some different landscapes. Z Hills was pretty cool. It's down in Florida. So I've jumped in 5 states so far. I've jumped in Texas at Skydive Spaceland in Dallas. I haven't had the pleasure of Houston yet, but it's on my list. I've also jumped at San Marcos in Texas, but I've jumped at Clinton, Missouri at Glider Sports. I've jumped at I'm trying to think, Florida, Texas, obviously Oklahoma. I'm trying to think of the 2, Missouri. Oh, at Tennessee. So the biplane jump, I literally drove 11 hours each way for that one jump. It was so, I had seen it and I was like, oh snap, I want to do that. And so I found out they were having a assist event. And so I was like, well, it's just a double bonus there. And so that jump, as well as my helicopter jump, and my balloon jump, those were all $150 each. Worth it. And my dream is honestly to go to, it's called the Sky Seekers Boogie, and it is a boogie in Cairo where you jump over the pyramids.
Oh, nice.
And the reason they opened that up is because one of the princes there is an active skydiver. And so before that, it wasn't ever a possibility. I think jumping over the Blue Hole in Belize would also be incredible. Or in the Maldives, they have a boogie there. I have yet to do a beach jump. I have yet to do a night jump. Those are things, they're on my list, as are many, many, many other types of jumps.
Sean says you've got the fever, and
Oh, yeah.
Tony wants to know if you've ever had a malfunction. And then I would like you to talk about your biplane flight from like what you were talking about the other night.
I don't remember. Oh, yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about that. So as far as malfunctions, actually on my second skydive, I had a basic malfunction, which was just line twists, which is where you open either from poor body position or just the way the parachute was packed or different. There's all different kinds of things that can cause different types of malfunctions, even just line twists. And so I experienced that when it's where you look up and you don't have it, you can't, fully inflate your canopy because your lines are twisted. And so in your ground school, that's one of the things before you even do your initial jump, they go over with you the different types of malfunctions and how to get out of line twists and things like that. On that jump also, I experienced a thing that they hadn't talked about, which is thermals. So with thermals, when you're jumping, they literally elevate you. Because I was like looking at we wear an altimeter that shows what our altitude is. So we know when to do what maneuvers and when we need to pull by and things like that. And so I'm looking at my altimeter and I like shot up 250 feet and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this thing? Like, I'm supposed to be going down. Am I like that floaty? Like, what is going on? And then I get down and I land and I learned that, yeah, that's because it was at summertime and it was hot. And there's lots of different places that have experiences like that. Just like, jumping at different elevations, your canopy will fly different. Like my canopy will fly different here in Oklahoma as compared to if I went to Mile High in Colorado.
Okay. Tony's also asking quick malfunction that you had to cut away.
Knock on wood. I haven't had one of those yet. They say that, and I say yet because they say it's about 1 for every 1,000 skydives. Some people though experience that in the first however many jumps. And that's why in your ground school, they also go over, you have to do your emergency procedures, and we all practice those, or should practice those, even on the way up on every jump. And I've seen people with 20,000 jumps that literally do their EPs in the plane all the way, because when you're doing it like that, it becomes second nature. You are able to stay calm in that experience, and be able to handle that. For those of you that don't know, we have 2 parachutes when we jump. We have our reserve for that reason, because we're able to cut away and open up that reserve parachute. It does fly a little bit different. It is a little bit different sizing. And so one of the next times that I'm at a boogie, one of the things that I definitely want to do, you can sign up to demo different canopies. And one of the things I want to do is demo my reserve, so I know how to fly it a little bit better in case that happens, so I can be a little more prepared.
All right. Wendy or Deweese, got any questions?
No, very interesting. Very, very informative too.
And it is a very extreme sport and things like that. There are injuries that can happen at any time. I have a couple. I had a hard landing. I was doing a canopy course up in Glider Sports in Clinton, Missouri, and that was when the initial time that I had visited there, I was still kind of a new skydiver, and I wasn't real familiar with the landing area or landing zone. And so I was landing off from the main area where they have you typically land. And there was a line of trees, and the rotors off the trees collapsed my canopy about 10 to 12 feet above the ground. And so I kind of slammed down and curled my tailbone in a little bit and some things like that. But I was back in the sky 3 weeks later after chiropractic care, and things like that. In 2018, I was on a landing and was coming in downwind, which is the opposite of the way that you want to land. You want to land into the wind. And so it'll slow your canopy down when you're landing downwind, and your canopy has kind of its own speed for like no wind days or things like that. Well, when you're landing downwind, if there is any wind also, it just adds, in addition to the speed of your canopy. And so I was having a downwind landing because the winds had changed from the time that I left the ground to the plane. And I wasn't aware of that. I was still kind of inexperienced in some of that. And they teach us a procedure during that ground school that I talked about called parachute landing fall, which is kind of the way you kind of collapse yourself onto the ground when you do have to slide in or things like that. And I took Kung Fu for several years and was really active in some of that. I was familiar with forward rolls and, keeping your body tucked in and things like that. And for some reason, I just had a human moment, and it was jump number 96, and I stuck my arm out. And I heard a pop in my shoulder, and I was like, oh, great, there goes my rotator cuff, is what I honestly thought it was. Then I drove the hour and a half back home to my local ER, and they're like, nope, you fractured your humerus. And it was not super humorous. I had to wear a sling for a couple of months. But within that, something that I really drew upon is I have a 3-legged dog, and he had 4 legs when we first got him and things like that. He got run over by a car, but he never missed a beat on anything. And so I drew my strength from him. I'm like, he's still a happy dog. He still does the things that he loves. I can't be sitting around here complaining because I'm going to get back use of this arm. He doesn't even have one that he can do that with, and so you can draw your strength from anything around you and your surroundings as long as you pay attention to what they are.
Yeah, I'm glad your dog's got you and you've got him.
Oh, he's pretty great. He's a Labrador, and he is the biggest baby. Oh my gosh.
We saw him walking in the other night.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. He's a big old boy. He's like 110 pounds. So he and I weigh almost the same.
So one more question from Tony. He wants to know, doesn't she jump with a ditter?
Yeah. So what your ditter is essentially, I actually have it right here. this is what's called an, oh, sorry. This is what's called an audible. It goes inside your helmet next to your ear. So when you hit you can set it for different altitudes. They go off at either 1,000 or 1,500 feet, because that's when you undo your seatbelt in the plane. And then they also can go off at your break off speed, like when you're doing a formation and you have to know a certain time that you're going to break off from everybody, so you can all split apart and go in different directions, so you don't have people opening up underneath each other or any of those types of things. But you can, and different audibles have different options, I guess is the good way to put that. We also wear an altimeter that tells us, you know, what altitude we're at and things like that. And you have different brands of different ones of those that have different options as well. I did have a Vizio 2 that grew legs, and I have an L&B altimeter now, which is actually an analog on the top, but it's digital on the bottom.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. And you said you wanted me to talk about my jump in Tennessee, right? So I went to Tullahoma, Tennessee, to do this biplane jump, because I found out they were having the biplane there. Normally it's at West Tennessee Skydiving. Mike Mullins is the pilot of that plane. It is his plane. He's also the drop zone owner of West Tennessee. Really incredible guy, was in the military as a pilot, has like 5 sons, I think, and they're all pilots, and one's a Blue Angel right now. But you go and they give you, you know, your briefing and things like that. And I like really embarrassed him. I gave him a kiss on his cheek, you know, and we got pictures of that, and that was super fun. And then they're like, okay, now it's really important that you're going to get in the plane, you're going to put your seatbelt on, you know, and et cetera, et cetera. This is what he's going to do when he shows you he's ready for you to stand up, because on top of the wing is a T-post that you undo your seatbelt and you hold on to that. And then that's when he inverts, excuse me, and you're literally facing him, you know, in the cockpit, because he's got an enclosure. Well, you don't have an enclosure, and I had no idea the way the wind was going to impact me coming in, because, you know, he was hauling ass, you know, on the way up top, and here I am, and I'm literally like holding the back of my helmet because it feels like it's going to take my head off. It was crazy. And then he does the wing wag, as you saw, and I go to stand up, and being the Nimrod I am sometimes, I totally forgot to take off my seatbelt. And that's when you see me look over at the camera and I'm like, oh my God, did anybody notice that? Because I was so embarrassed, you know. And then I did it, and he inverted us, and it's good that you can't necessarily hear what I'm saying, because I'm really excited and I'm shouting expletives at him, and we're both smiling at each other. And it was really great. And they told you during your briefing, you know, they tell you you can do any number of things, you know, before you let go or whatever. And so they said, take your time. This is your jump. You've paid for this. You should be able to enjoy it at length as you'd like. And so that's exactly what I did. You know, I took a breath, and I'm like telling him F yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And oh my God, I was so excited. And kind of looked around for a minute, and I took a breath and I let go.
And you said you scuffed his windshield.
Oh yeah. So my feet were like, I felt so bad. I was like, oh, he's going to be pissed at me later. I'm sure I'm going to hear this in the debrief or whatever. And they may have even told you, you know, tuck your legs as soon as, you know, you're going into the roll or whatever. Yeah, I didn't pay attention apparently to that part. And it was like, you know, with my tennis shoes down his windshield, you know, and I was like, oh, great. But yeah, I laugh about that. And so, Mike, if you ever watch this, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was an awesome video that you had there. I was glad to put that on the intro.
Yeah,
so if anybody
thanks.
missed that intro, please check it out. So,
and I didn't get a chance to get video on my hot air balloon jump. That has been my jump of jumps so far. So that is the one that's the closest to a base jump that you can get without doing a base jump, because the balloon is not traveling at velocity that you need to be or at terminal. And so you have a little bit of dead airspace. So helicopter jumps can be the same way. And my mentor gave me some advice of make sure and turn around and watch the balloon leave you. And so I literally did just that. And I hung out there for quite a while. It was absolutely, and I can still in my mind see frame by frame every part of that jump. And, that was back in 2020. And so, these different jumps, they just have such an impact on you. And, and I was like, okay, I should probably turn over and look at my altimeter. And I'm like, I got a few more seconds, and then I pulled, and had a great landing, of course, when no one was there to see it and I can't work, of course, and things like that. But it was just so, I was like, holy, I just did that. And that's kind of how I feel after a lot of these jumps. I'm like, oh my God, is this my life? Like, is this reality? And there's times where, like, one of the guys that I was in my initial canopy course with, I mean, he's a tandem instructor now. He's got over 1,000 jumps. And here I am at 137, 136, 137. I'll have to look at my log, but, but he's got different experiences at home. He also, for myself, I deal with autoimmune diseases, and there's different times that I have flares and things like that. And so all that's incorporated into when I'm able. And so I tell people, when I'm healthy-isher, I skydive for fun, and so in today's society, there's different times where people have to have shoulder replacements or hip or knee or different things like that, or they might have different ailments that come on. And the thing is, you don't have to give up then, it's literally been something that's helped to pull me out of that, is the goals that you have set in front of you. When I fractured my humerus, I was literally still in my sling when I booked and paid for my helicopter jump and my biplane jump, because I was like, you know what, I am going to be ready by this date. I'm going to be at the physical level that I need to be able to complete these. And so it really drives you. The community really helps support you. They've been some of my biggest supporters throughout some of the challenges that I faced in the last 5 years, 4 years. Yeah.
Wow. Well, going back to your biplane, Tony said that he's jumped out of that gentleman's plane also. So
right on. And that's one of the things that, you see it and you're like, I want to do that. And so, if you're able, and they always tell you, if you're able to make it to West Tennessee and jump with Mike Mullins, do it, because it's absolutely worth it. And hopefully Tony felt the same way. But yeah, that was definitely a very memorable jump, as was my helicopter jump. But the most memorable, I would say, would be between my hot air balloon jump, and then I was on a 13-way with a bunch of guys down in Dallas. And so, and one of the guys that was the load organizer on that, he's like, girl, you can fly. And I was like, thank you, because they all outweigh me by like 100 pounds. These are big dudes. And so for me to be able to have such low jump numbers and jump with these skydivers that have jump numbers in the thousands was really awesome, and I learned how that they believe in you a lot of times, a lot more than you believe in yourself in the beginning, and that helps you to step outside of your own limitations, and it really opens up that for you, and not just in skydiving, but also in life. Right.
Exactly. Hey, so we made it past our hour. I know we were a little late.
Wow.
Today, but if anybody is willing to join in the after show, I'll add that code shortly. But people are asking if they can find you anywhere on social media. Do you have a YouTube channel or just Facebook?
I don't have a lot on that yet. I'm on Facebook under Ms-Angie Drumm, Drumm, as you can see my name here on the background. I'm also on TikTok, as well as Instagram. For both of those, you can do, and it's kind of silly, it's Starshine and the letter N, Starshine _ the letter N _ giggles, Starshine and Giggles. That's me. I also, and my Chickasaw name is Shotek Minko. And so that's on my stuff as well, if anybody wants to look me up there. And I look forward to connecting with you guys. Thanks so much for listening to my story, for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And it was a pleasure to have you and hear your story. And thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Wendy, where can we find you your downtime of waiting for warmer weather for paramotoring in Pennsylvania.
I know.
Hey, that's where my brother is.
Oh, well, where we fly paramotors, I'm sure skydivers can dive. So I'm on Facebook as Wendy Weaver and Weaver Wireless. I own a business. And then I'm also on a YouTube channel, just Wendy the Explorer, but I'm not the Oriental one that comes up. So surprise there that I'm not Oriental. But you can see another lady that has the same page. I was thinking about trying to see if I can change a title of a YouTube channel once it's already been started, but I don't know. I haven't tried yet to see if I can change that. But if you look, like I did a capital W, capital T, and capital E, and it seems to come up when you do that. And I squished it all together instead of putting spaces. So.
All right. How about Deweese? Off of mute.
Unmute. It's Deweese Milstead on everything: Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. All of them.
All right. And Krista?
Really only on here. I do have a YouTube. It has absolutely no content. I'm on a computer all day at work. Last thing I want to do is be on a computer at home. So
I did not know.
I commit myself to this show for my friends.
I love your shirt, Krista.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So, and you can find me here at paramotorgirl.com or Flying Flamingo Jade. I'm also on TikTok every once in a while at Flying Flamingo, I think 12, and Instagram also. And here on Tuesday or Wednesday nights. Monday nights, please watch Clear Prep TV with PPG Grandpa. Tuesday night with my husband Eric and Cupcake Krista's husband Shane doing Tuesday night hangouts and whatever they talk about. And us Wednesday nights and Thursday night do Linda's son Robert Michael at paraglidingtalk.com. So you got all pretty much most of your nights filled with paramotor talk and paragliding talk and any type
And
of
who's the
flying.
guest next week?
Oh boy. Oh,
Oh,
we don't
you're
know
gonna be with
yet.
me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Krista and I are going to be doing something live next week together down in Florida, but we have no clue what we're doing yet. So stay tuned. And Wendy, if you can get your butt down there, come join us.
We are leaving June. I keep saying that. January. I'm waiting for June. I just want to
know.
No, January 8th. We are driving the fifth wheel camper down to Florida. So
Oh,
The Aviator.
no, I am going to Ocala Sun RV Park and the Villages. I am expanding Weaver Wireless and teaching seniors technology. So
That's awesome.
this
Go
is the
see-
first public place
see
I
the
can put it
monkeys.
because I haven't announced it yet with my business page, but that's okay.
So check out Weaver Wireless. Angela Preslick is down in Florida already. And of course, we're missing her by, I think, 1 or 2 days. She'll be going back when we're coming down, I believe. So was hoping to catch up with her also. So thank you guys. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our show and see you next week on whatever we're doing live and join in the after show. Fly safe, everyone.
all right. Good night.
Blue skies.